The next part of the clock we're going to work on is the pedestal. I'm going to try to make this design for the bottom of the clock that's pretty fancy. And so what I've done then is to draw out my template, cut a half, draw it in half so that you can see the center line here. And then I cut this out with the scroll saw, and then I placed it on the piece of wood that I'm going to use as the backing for some veneer that I've made. Now, what I've done here is I've taken my bandsaw and cut down to the line, and I can cut this out now with my I can't use the scroll saw because this is now off-centered here. You can see one side is cut down. But what I can use is the scrolling saw that by hand, and I've already cut out this side over here. Now I'll just cut out this side, and it would just be a matter of sanding that down to the line and cutting out. There's still some edges here that need to be cut out. I can still see my line in there somewhere, but we'll get this down to shape. Then I've got a nice veneer I'm going to experiment with of gluing it onto this and to see if we can come up with that good nice bottom. Now that I have this cut down to the line, I can take my carving chisel here and go in here and get a little closer to the line. But it will take some sanding and some filing to get this down smooth so I can glue some veneer on it. And this is just, in essence, this right here, I'm just doing this as an experiment right now to be sure I can get my veneer to bend to this shape. There's quite a severe curve right here to this, coming down to this point. And so hopefully I've got my veneer sanded down and planed down to 1/32, and it's pretty pliable, and I think with a little moisture on it I can bend it around to this shape, but we'll see. It's an experiment at this point. Using my spindle sander, I'm now able to get a nice smooth edge on both ends of the pedestal. Well, this is promising. I wet this piece This is 1/32 veneer that I cut and sanded, planed down. And when I wet it then, both sides, I was able to bend it around the form here and into the form. And it didn't break, didn't crack, so it fit against the, it fit against the piece pretty well. I guess that molded edge. And so, now I'll just cut a piece of form down here on each side, put this one back in on top of those, and glue it down. I'm gluing the side panels of the bottom piece there. I'm gluing those on first, and then I'll glue the front. That way the front will cover over any edge. But this is not easy to glue up. I had to put the veneer on when it was wet, and none of the glue was sticking, and so hopefully it will stick now. But what I had to do was I had to make this counter piece right here that my clamps would sit on, that would go down inside here and then around on this. So the whole thing is now clamped. Where I had a little gap, I put some paper in here, some tissue, paper towel, and that filled in the gap. Rounded object here to put pressure on this. So I have two clamps on this, one up here on the flat, down to the flat on this, then on the rounded piece here for that concave glue up there. Making the this pedestal for the bottom of the clock, I did two different ways of making this. So this way, I used one long piece of molded wood. So I cut out the wood and I molded this piece of veneer on top of it. And by doing that, I was able to keep the same type of grain, and my corners were cut at 45s. And it seems to fit together better than my original plan. Plus, I didn't make this valley quite as deep as the original. That gave me more room here that I could put a finial on. What I didn't realize, I guess, was that by cutting this in less, I wound up with a wide bottom here, which a little finial on now would look kind of dinky. So I need to figure that out, either with a flat bottom or something else. But that's that system using the 45s. The original system, which I like this style because I like this design in the veneer, and I've added onto this one then a flat bottom that still is kind of big, I think, for a turned piece, but I did turn a piece and cut it halfway through for the bottom to fit below this, but that's still, it doesn't look right to me, so I don't like that. But on this one, I wrapped the veneer on each side. I cut out the one piece. I wrapped the veneer on each side, and then I applied the front veneer. So glued everything down, and the thing I don't like about this is that perhaps I could have gotten a better match, but the corners didn't come together quite as well as what I would have liked. It seems that you can really see that seam. I thought that would blend in a lot better, but it hasn't. I did use a different piece of cherry for this versus the cherry for this. Had I maintained this piece around the edges, perhaps it would have would have looked better. So I do like this. I like that design, especially with the black. But I don't know, the corners, the sides didn't come out quite the way I like. So this design here had a really deep piece to it. By applying these two veneers on the sides, then the one on the front, I was able to press this in and get a good glue joint on this front piece right here. And with this one, I really didn't get the effect I wanted anyway, because although this is wider, I wanted it wide enough that I could put a finial on it. But then by making it wider, these side pieces cut in less, and so I wind up with a wider platform down here. So style-wise, I like this piece better because the grain of the wood matches and the whole thing matches well. I like this a lot better on the front because of these dark pieces that came out. But I kind of screwed up, I guess, on the sides by making them a different veneer from a different piece of wood, and they don't match very well. Don't know if that would really matter. When you look at the side of the clock, you're going to see these finials. They're kind of going to hide that. So I'm not sure which way I'm going to go on this. This wide bottom down here I don't particularly like. So don't know how I'm going to finish this up, but I did want to show you the two separate ways I made these bottoms. One by cutting 45s, this one, and one by just cutting one piece out and then veneer, and then applying the veneer on the sides and then the veneer on the top. So just wanted to show that to you. It's two different ways to make this little pedestal and using veneer.